Hello, Sci 108 students. Welcome to the course and welcome to this overview of the final project. The purpose of this video is to give you a sense of what this final project is all about, what it will encompass, and how all the pieces fit together. I know that the first module can be overwhelming when you're looking ahead at all the work that has to be completed, but rest assured, you don't have to do all of this at once. You will piece together the components of this final project over the next 8 weeks. So throughout the term, you will have the opportunity to work on this final project. Essentially, this assignment will allow you to see the practical application of psych. It will bring psychology to life. It will enable you to see how social science research is conducted and its relevance to the real world. As you can see, you're looking at the Sci 108 Final Project Guidelines and Rubric document. I recommend that you take the time to thoroughly review this document and each Guidelines and Rubric document as you move forward. This will allow you to become familiar with the expectations of the assignments. In other words, what your instructor is looking for. As you do this, pay particular attention to the critical elements that should be addressed with each component. Once again, don't get overwhelmed because all of these critical elements will not be due until you submit the final project at the end of the term. You will put them together one by one with the milestone activities. The scaffolding learning approach will allow you to hone in on your skills and understand the theories and research and practical applications of psychology. I'm going to cover the critical elements in future videos. For now, I just want to introduce the three main elements. The first part, getting started, this is where you're going to select a research area by identifying a problem. There's a list provided for you to choose from within your Tsumo web text, and I'll get to that in a second. So you're going to identify a problem, and you're going to look at research related to that problem. Part of that is you're going to evaluate the credibility of the research that you're looking at. Remember, you always want to be a good consumer of psychology, and what that means is ask questions, be skeptical. A healthy degree of skepticism when you're reading research and you're reading articles is always helpful to ensure that you obtain the most accurate information possible. Within this critical element, you're also going to be looking at the fundamental theories, and these theories will be explored throughout the term. You're going to begin looking at them here, and you're going to build on that. And finally, ethical guidelines. Ethics is a huge component of social science research. Within psychology, you want to ensure that you understand the role that ethics plays in research. As you look at the bold font, you'll notice some redundancy here, the fundamental theories, but this is where you're going to talk more about the application, addressing the problem. This is your plan support. You're going to describe and apply the fundamental theories. You're going to explain the different perspectives within the research, within the subjects that psychologists look at. They're basically, when you think of perspective, think of different angles that are taken to approach the same problem. Ethical implications, once again, comes up. This has to be considered throughout each step of your action plan. And then the third component is the action plan that you're going to put together. You're going to discuss how your action plan is going to address the problem that you selected in Module 1. You're going to make recommendations. Take the role of a professional psychologist and make recommendations for improving the identified problem. You're always going to support that, and throughout this process, you want to be sure to support your assertions. Once again, fundamental theories and perspectives, you're going to discuss how they align with your chosen action plan, and then you're going to explain how your plan aligns and adheres to the ethical guidelines within the field of psychology. So as I said, there's a scaffolding approach, and you'll see here the various milestones to be completed one at a time as you go through this course. First milestone is due in Module 1. You'll see That's identifying a problem and discussing the problem after you've done a little research with articles that are provided for you within Tsumo. Milestone 2 is doing Module 2, and this is where you're going to evaluate the sources and discuss the credibility of those sources. Milestone 3, you're going to plan a draft of the support for your identified area. You're going to look at how the theories and perspectives that you're investigating throughout the term connect to your identified plan. Milestone 4, recommendations. This is where you're going to make your professional recommendations. And then the final project submission is where you put all of the pieces together. So do not be overwhelmed and look ahead at this and assume that it all has to be completed at once. This happens in steps throughout the term. And right here is an overview of the deliverables. Milestone 1, 2, 3, 4, when they're due, what's expected to be delivered or submitted, and how they're graded. These rubric documents, ensure that you print them out or that you save a file on your computer and that you review them, that they become a very close friend to you in the weeks to come. And real quick, I just want to jump over to the Tsumo Resource and show you that as you move through the term, you will see action plans related to these milestones. These will help you construct the milestone and address the critical elements. So be sure to follow these as you go through the web text. Complete the activities. And I will tell you that the more time you spend putting together a quality submission, not only the more you're going to learn, the better equipped you're going to be to handle this type of assignment in future psychology courses. And many of the courses have a research component. So it'll be worth your while to put a lot of time and effort into doing the best possible job you can on the final project. Be sure to watch the milestone videos as you start to complete the elements of your final project. At any time, if you have any questions, reach out to your instructor with the general questions form or via email. Good luck.